Welcome to the Guitar Department. I'm your host, Joe Alton. Today, we're going to have Matt Woods back here in the studio with us to talk about his new album and to perform a couple of songs along the way. We've also got the EHX Holy Grail, which is a reverb pedal we're going to be talking about in the tone zone a little later. But first, I'm going to be showing you how to turn your Pentatonic Scale into a major or minor scale. Stay tuned. The pentatonic scale is a staple of almost every type of guitar player. You play blues, you play rock, you play country, metal, whatever you play, you're probably going to use a pentatonic a little bit along the way. And so the biggest question I as a teacher get is from students at a certain level, how do you break out of the pentatonic pattern and break into other patterns? And one of the easiest ways to do that, one of the simplest ways to do that, is to use the pentatonic pattern as an offshoot and add in some of the notes that aren't included in the pentatonic that make it a pentatonic in the first place. Here's what I mean. A pentatonic scale has 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to play 2 more, but they're just the first one and second one again. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1 and 2 again. But there's notes in between there that if you add them in, they turn into other scales. Not just a major and minor, but in this case, we're going to use, starting on this 7, I'm in the key of A minor, which is also the key of C major. So it works on both of those keys. I'm going to start on the 7, and then just to keep it simple, I'm going to go to the 5 next and the 7. So far we haven't changed anything. And then on these last 2 strings, I'm going to play 5, instead of 5, 8, I'm going to play 5, 6, 8. And then on the next one, 5, 7, 8. You might notice that's just a major scale. Or if you don't know anything about theory, you might think of it as the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. And then, of course, landing back on this note makes it the minor version. You can also add in the 4th fret. If you take the pattern back 1 fret, this note is used quite a bit in, by certain players when doing this technique we're talking about. So if you listen to, say, David Gilmour, you'll hear a lot of little, like, a journey into the major or minor scale, and then all of a sudden a blues lick. Carlos Santana does this all the time, too. Just sort of add in a couple of notes and then end it with some sort of typical blues lick. It really adds a little bit of character and shape to the scale as you're playing it. Now, a couple other options. I'll give a few less examples here, but one of the other ones is instead of adding a 6 here, you just add a 7, and that turns it into a Dorian scale. And then just to quickly offshoot from that, something that Eddie Van Halen liked to use a lot is to add onto this string, where you go 5, 7, to add another 8 there, which sort of turns it into a combination of a Dorian and a blues scale, but it gives you a symmetrical pattern. So we've got 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. You can see how that just sort of helps with speed and a little bit of tonality, and that's a really cool trick that could really pump up your lead playing. And we're back here with our special guest, Matt Woods. Matt has a new album entitled Almost Made It, a new band, the Matt Woods Band. Matt, tell me about the new album.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, there it is. He said it all. That's all we need to know. Please buy it.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, all right, good to see you guys.
All right,
yeah.
are we done? No,
okay. Yeah, thank you, Joe. Yes, a new album of all original material with my band, the Matt Woods Band. Dwight Dario on drums, Eric Gockel on bass, and we got a special guest, legendary Iowa musician Dave Zolo, playing piano on the record. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, how'd you get Dave Zolo on the record?
I just called him up and asked him if he'd play on it, and he said, yeah, sure.
That's sort of how it works in this scene, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you about a few specific songs on the album.
Sure.
You have.
Thanks for listening, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's a great album. You guys should all be listening to this album. It's 8 tracks. It's mostly instrumental, but of course it's got some of that classic Matt Woods voice on it. Deep roots rock voice going on.
Thank you.
The vocals on the last track. Tell me about Flew to Leave.
Yeah, like you said, that's an instrumental song that I came up with, and the band and I came up with. It's kind of a New Orleans style rumba. We draw a lot of influence from Southern music and New Orleans music in general, so thought it might be a good tribute to that.
Yeah. Are you in the tuning? Can you play the riff for us?
Sure, yeah. So I'm in open D here for anybody keeping track.
What is the tuning exactly?
D, A, D, F sharp, A, D.
Excellent.
So you got a big old D chord right there. Just play all the open strings.
Which, if you're not familiar, it's pretty common among slide players to be in an open tuning so that you can carry a whole chord just on,
That's right.
on the slide.
You just play a whole, just by bar and then play a whole chord. So it's handy.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so the riff for that song goes, I know I'd be nervous here trying to replicate my own riff, so bear with me. It's always the hardest thing to do.
Awesome.
It's kind of the general idea.
Thank you very much for that. Can we talk about your right hand or excuse me, your left hand?
My left hand, yeah.
Because you play backwards.
Yeah.
So you've got a thumb pick, obviously, a standard Dunlop, and then what's your finger pick there?
Yeah, so typically I'll use bare fingers a lot of times when I'm playing fingerstyle, but depending on the sound I want, and if I want it a little bit brighter and a little bit more projection, I'll use finger picks just on my thumb and index finger. They're both Dunlop brand, I think, so pretty standard. It's hard to find the left thumbs though.
Interesting.
The right thumbs
yeah.
aren't so hard to find, but it's a different shape for the left thumb.
I would not have thought of that. You're right, though. It does contour to the thumb a little bit, so it wouldn't work if you just switched hands.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But I like, but with the one of the many problems of my guitar life being backwards. But the good part about using the finger picks as opposed to just bare fingers is I can get kind of the more percussive kind of attack on the bass.
Like a Travis picking sound.
Yeah. And it just pops out a little bit more
Yeah.
instead of being kind of more of a dull, dead sound.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that in there.
Yeah.
So, like you said, we've got Dave Zola, Dwight Dario, drummer.
Iowa Blues Hall of Famer.
I was going to say Iowa Blues Hall of Famer, right?
I'm contractually obligated to say that.
I was going to say we got to give respect where it's due. That's a solid band. So you guys just threw that together for the album, or did you guys more collaborative coming up with songs?
We've been working together for a few years. Kind of, this trio got together just before a couple years before the pandemic, probably. But I'd known Dwight and Eric for, years and years, and had played with them both in various bands. So when I wanted to start my own trio back up again, those were the guys I wanted to have, and it worked out. So
that's excellent.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have the guys you want, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they do a great job on the album too. The sort of you were talking about that sort of Caribbean beat, that Louisiana style Southern beat on Flew to Leave. That sort of makes the song. It opens with that sort of and then just sort of comes in with the. It almost feels like you're sailing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Dave Zola plays a great electric kind of Rhodes style piano on it too.
He does. Yeah, he has a great solo on that one too.
Yeah, Dave knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
glad I called him.
Yeah, I am too, as a listener. And I think you will be too when you go buy the album.
Actually, I should say, I don't care if you buy it, just listen to it, really. It's just all about getting into people's ears. I'm happy if you buy it, but if you want to listen to it on Spotify or whatever, I don't blame you. So.
And that's true. So just to quickly really plug this thing, it's available on mattwoodsmusic.com. You've got a playlist on YouTube that you've been posting a song of the week. The whole album is available free on YouTube. And the goal is to just get it into as many ears as possible,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
That's excellent. And I hear you have a big fan base in Greece.
There's at least
right now.
one, yeah.
There's a guy out there.
Yeah, yeah. I just did an interview for a magazine or a website out of Greece, so at least one person's interested there.
How did that come about? I'm wondering.
They reached out. I hired a publicist to help me kind of publicize this record, and they reached out to him and went from there. So
Excellent.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's.
Must have gotten their ears
I was
somehow.
gonna say, hopefully it moves some albums for you.
Yeah, the world's a lot smaller than it used to be. You know,
Yeah.
with everything being on the internet and stuff. So.
Exactly. Yeah. It's easy to get music from everywhere.
Yep, that's right.
So I wanted to ask you about another song, if I could.
Okay.
You got the song "Carrot Cake." Has a really cool riff on it. It's sort of a standard blues lick, but I'm wondering if you'd be willing to switch. I know you got to switch guitars for it.
Yep, I can. As long as I get a minute to switch, I can show you that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think we can go ahead and give you that. But I'd love it if you play that lick for me.
Sure, absolutely. You bet.
All right. So we've got the proper guitar. We're back in standard tuning.
Standard tuning. Yep.
All right. I'd love to hear this riff for "Carrot Cake."
Sure. Okay. Again, I'll see if I can get it right.
That's
So that's
awesome.
one time through the head there.
So
yeah.
you were doing it's so we're up here on this is, whoop, and then you drop back 2 frets.
That's right. Yep.
So that whole thing is out of like a G minor or G major pentatonic.
Yeah, it kind of goes from the first part's kind of out of a G major, and then you go back into the minor.
Yeah, sort of blending those two.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's your approach to writing a song like that? What do you come up with? Obviously, it all sort of happens together, but you come up with the head. It's not just you jamming, right? So
Well, sometimes they do kind of happen like that. I mean, songs will get written at sound check, you know, if you're just kind of fooling around and trying to do a sound check, and the band comes in and figure out kind of a groove. But I'll have just like melodic ideas like that in my head, or a slight, you know, variation on a song that already exists that I like, you know, borrow from that or whatever for some ideas, and then so I'll come up with a melody line or something like that, and establish a groove, and then it kind of just goes from there. You know, we play live a lot, so that's kind of a good way to flesh things out. You know, they just kind of evolve naturally.
Yeah.
Sometimes it turns into something that you didn't really expect it to be, but is better, you know, than you would have probably come up with on your own.
do you have anything new that's in the works that is not on the album? I know the album just came out, but you've been touring with this trio for a while.
I've always got some ideas rolling around, but nothing's really come to the forefront yet. I've been spending all my time just trying to get this album out, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So haven't had a lot of time to sit down and be creative lately. So.
It's a really fun album. And I wanted to bring up, so there's I forget what song it's on, but there's a lick towards the end of one of the songs as the song is fading out that sounds like it was stolen from Johnny Rivers' Memphis, Tennessee. Do you know the lick I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
It's like a
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I use something like that a lot. It's kind of, I would have got the idea probably from more like a Bo Diddley thing, like, you know. But it's just, yeah, pretty common thing that just all that stuff comes out in the moment. Like we have basic structures to follow, but all the solos and whatever are improvisational. You
Sure.
know, so whatever comes out in the moment, I've probably never played it like that again, or before that.
That's part of the appeal of seeing you live, though, is that it's not quite the same. It's the same song, it's the same structure, but
yeah,
the
it's real
solos,
fast and loose with that, though.
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
that's what makes it fun as a performer
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd hate to be. I know there's musicians that work that way, and their job is to play things note for note on whatever superstar's album. You know, if they're in that
Sure.
band, and I mean, it'd be a pretty good job because they got nice touring accommodations and good food and big stages.
Sure.
But it would be pretty mind-numbing to me to have to play everything note
Yeah.
for note the same way every night.
Well, and even bands that sort of get stuck in their own format, they're creative within their group, but they can only create a certain type of song.
Sure.
That they might want to play other styles, but it doesn't fit that band.
Right. Well, there's just different schools of, like, the way I was sort of raised musically is from, I don't read music, I don't like to write things down. I've never written a song down. It's all just been just play it repeatedly until I
Sure.
remember it. So if I have to play something, if I get hired for a session or whatever and I have to play something a certain way in a certain format, that gives me a lot of anxiety. I'm a lot more comfortable just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, and I think I perform better that way. It's just some people were raised musically, learning how to read sheet music and play it a certain way, like maybe a classical type player or whatever, but the school I came from is just all very, off the cuff.
And I found people have different talents too. If you're so like I was a classically trained guitar player, and one of the things that worked to my advantage there was that I could memorize a song really well just from muscle memory. I could 3.5 minute Bach piece or something like that. But sight reading it off the page was always a problem for me.
Yeah, everybody's brain works different.
Yeah.
I mean, I could never memorize 3 minutes of music. Like I can't conceive of what that would.
Right. And
be
here
like.
you are with 45 minutes of music
Yeah,
that
45
you've
minutes
written
of music
yourself.
made up on the spot. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, the first song, "Crockin' Next Door," was literally made up on the spot in the studio while we were getting mics set up, and we were just checking levels, and that all kind of came together, and we did 2 takes, and the second take ended up on the record.
That's a lot of fun right there. Just making it up as you go along, and then it becomes a staple of your shows afterwards, right?
Yeah, and it evolves over time too. So if you saw us play that song a year ago, and you see us 5 years from now, it's going to probably have morphed into something a little bit different.
So what are your influences? Who do you listen to for guitar music? You've mentioned a few names out there.
Yeah, I
Bo
mean,
Diddley, obviously.
I get a lot of influence from some of my Iowa heroes, actually. Like Joe Price is a big one for me, Bo Ramsey, Dave Zolo. Obviously, he's a piano player, but it's music.
Yeah,
So,
you can always lift from other instruments.
but some of the more well-known names that really have been big for me are like Howlin' Wolf and his guitar player Hubert Sumlin. He's probably my all-time favorite guitar player. A lot of the early Delta guys, Fred McDowell and Son House and Robert Johnson, were all big influences. Albert Collins, the master of the Telecaster, is a big one for me too. So,
you had mentioned in that interview for the Grecian magazine that and I agree with this wholeheartedly, the Des Moines scene, part of the central Iowa scene that makes it so special is that the other artists lift each other up. There isn't a huge competitive factor that leads to bad blood between musicians. They're all sort of friends, and they try to promote one another. And in that spirit, who would you recommend our viewers go listen to other than yourself? That's a local Des Moines artist that they should be. Obviously, we've mentioned Dave Zolo, William Elliott Whitmore. Who have we missed?
Yeah,
off the top of your
well,
head?
my favorite local band is the Soul Searchers.
Oh yeah.
Those guys deliver every time.
Yes, they do. Those
James
guys are-
Bean obviously is a friend of both of ours and an incredible guitar player.
We'll be hoping to have him back on here soon.
Yeah, so there's just lots of. Heath Allen's always got something really creative and interesting going. Bob Pace has been a big supporter of mine for a lot of years and was one of the first guys to kind of get me up and let me sit on in one of his shows, to get some time and all that kind of stuff.
Bob's a legend around here.
Rob Lombard taught me how to play with my fingers, like we talked about earlier. So
Yeah.
he's kind of a fingerstyle wizard. So yeah,
Excellent.
There's lots of great stuff going on. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. This was not planned.
This is true. I just hit him with this by surprise. If they didn't mention your name, it's not because
I don't
love
like you. Yeah. No. But no, I've always found that everybody has been really supportive, and if they do have bad blood, it's not. They keep it under wraps,
Yeah.
So I don't know what a lot of other music scenes are like around the country because I'm from here, but
That's a fair point.
it's
too.
always been really positive. Yeah.
And one last thing I want to ask you about before we break. I heard in that interview, I think you took it from your website, that you opened for Pat Benatar and REO Speedwagon at the grandstand at the Iowa State Fair with your former band.
Yep, that's right.
It's Matt Woods and the Thunderbolts,
Thunderbolts,
correct?
yep.
How did that come about?
I don't remember exactly. This was 10 years ago or more now. But yeah, somehow we got the gig and got to play in front of whatever 11,000 people, which was.
It's a big show.
Yeah, the funniest part of the story, the whole story is that was a Tuesday night, And Wednesday night we were the house band at an old club called Blues on Grand, which was
Yeah.
an old blues club. And
It's the gas lamp now.
yeah, the Gas Lamp now. So we were the house band there. We played there every Wednesday night, and usually those Wednesday nights were pretty slow. And so on Tuesday we played in front of 11,000 people, and Wednesday we played in front of 2 people.
Yeah. Well, if there's no better way
That's
to
showbiz.
wrap up
Yeah.
show business
That's
than
right.
that. Matt, thank you for being here. Would you stick around and do a song for us?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having
All
me.
right, thank you. Okay, the new album is Almost Made It. By the way, what does the title mean?
Well,
Where'd the title come
I
from?
set out to make an all-instrumental album and almost made it.
Well, there you go. And you guys should go listen to it, mattwoodsmusic.com, YouTube, Spotify, whatever your preferred streaming service is. Matt Woods, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Matt Woods here. I'm going to play a little song for you by my hero, the great Joe Price. So if you don't like it, you blame Joe. Well, now blues juice for breakfast, that's what I drank today. Well, I see you talking, but I can't hear a word you say. Remember way back, babe, 1998. We loved me then, now you can't stand my face. Yeah. Well, now maybe you can smoke me, but you can't burn me down. Mama, you can fool me, but not for long. And I'm leaving right now, babe, but I can't tie my shoes. That's what I get fooling with this old blues juice. Well, now blues juice for breakfast, that's what I drank today. I see you talking, but I can't hear a word you say. This is the classic blues, Rollin' and Tumblin'. Well, I cried the whole night long. I roll and I tumble, cried the whole night long. I woke up today, everything I had was gone. If that river was whiskey and I was a diving duck. If that river was whiskey and I was a diving duck. Well, I'd swim down to the bottom, baby, and I might never come back up. That engineer blew the whistle, the fireman he rang the bell. That engineer blew the whistle, the fireman he rang the bell. Well, I didn't have time to tell my baby fare thee well. So I roll and I tumble, cried the whole night long. I roll and I tumble, cried the whole night long. I woke up today, everything I had was gone.
And now it's time for us to enter the tone zone. And this week we have got a really cool reverb pedal, the EHX Holy Grail. It's electro-harmonics. And I'm just going to dive in. We're stuck right now on the spring setting. So that's just a type of reverb. Here's what that sounds like. And you can hear that sort of echo that's happening. That's really what reverb is. It just sort of redoubles the signal on top of itself. Different from delay, by the way, which sounds like this. This. A little bit different type of echo. So we're going to switch it now from spring to hall. Just a little toggle switch there, and that's what this sounds like. This is without adjusting the knob. And you can hear it's just a little more intense. If I turn that down to, say, the 9 o'clock setting, again, like it's the fingers on a clock, right at 9 o'clock. can still hear it in there, it's just not quite as intense. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up all the way, and let's see how long this lasts. Quite a while. What's interesting here is that it's not actually reacting to me playing so much as we're just hearing an echo. But the real draw of this pedal that I want to demonstrate is the third setting. It is called flurb. Now, it took me a second to figure out what it meant by flurb because I didn't look up any reviews on this pedal or any of the specs. But after playing it for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and turn the reverb up just a little bit more. What you'll hear is after I play this note, it has a modulation effect on the echo. So it's a clean signal coming through on the original hit, but then the echo itself has a flanger effect on it. And if you don't know what flanger is, I don't know if we've talked about flanger on the show. It's a lot like chorus, where it just sort of has like a wavy effect. I almost think it sounds like aliens talking to each other. And you can sort of hear that modulation effect, but it's all just in the echo. The original signal is still clean and dry. It's pretty cool. Let me turn that down to a little more practical setting. It looks like we're about 10 o'clock here. So a little more subtle that way, but that's pretty cool. And that's our pedal of the week, the EHX Holy Grail. Thank you for tuning into the Guitar Department. I've been your host, Joe Alton. I want to thank Matt Woods for being here. And again, the new album, Almost Made It, is available now on his website. I also want to thank Riemann Music for loaning me this absolutely gorgeous Squier Jaguar. This thing is just, again, just ripped it right off the shelf. And for giving us our pedal of the week, the EHX Holy Grail. It's a fun pedal, right?
Yeah.
And I want to thank Jason Prine, our producer. And be sure to join us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Guitar Department. You want to jam for our way out?
Sure.
All right, let's just do a little 12-bar knee.
Okay.
2, 3, 4. Awesome. Sweet.